Hey guys, so this is Josh from Midnight Auto Repair coming back to you on the night we actually start this thing, because we're at that point, or at least close enough that we can enjoy some of the fruits of our labors, because I need to hear it, and I hope you guys do too. So come along and we'll see if we can't get this thing to make some noise for the first time. So if you get a chance, check that nice fancy subscribe button out. I'd really appreciate it. You know, guys, I enjoy bringing this to you, and that'd be my best reward ever. But stay tuned and we'll be right back. Alright guys, so I'm going to bring you back in and we'll catch up on what we've done here. So I've gone through, carburetors on, our Excel HEI distributors in there. We got some fancy silicone plug wires. Hopefully they'll hold out. And I've been working on getting the fan in there, one of those fancy 17-inch Flexolite fans. And that is a factory GM housing that I've kind of trimmed and contorted to make it work for what I need. I got the upper radiator hose here, and I ended up using a Goodyear 62890 upper, and I've got a lower that I've got to trim and contort to make it fit the lower, which shouldn't be an issue. Also still working on getting the alternator in there. But guys, I think it's time that we make some noise with this thing. I put a battery in, I converted this thing to the top post mounts. And I want to start the video off with something really fun, with something like this thing running. And then I'll take you along, we'll kind of bodge a fuel system and a cooling system together, and we'll see if we can't let this thing sit here and idle. Now, we're not going to drive it tonight because I haven't hooked the transmission up yet. I've got its own demons back there to figure out, which I'm working on. But guys, stay tuned. We're going to make some noise with this thing, so hang loose. Alright guys, so as we all know in the automotive world, when you're building something, hearing it run is kind of, it brings it home. It makes it all real. All the money you spent, all the time you spent, you know, when it sits there and it doesn't run, it's just another project. The moment you bring it to life, it becomes real. It becomes tangible. You're on the home stretch. Like anything else, there's still a bunch of stuff to handle, but it at least gives you the motivation to keep going. So what I'm going to do is, I believe I've got the timing close-ish, and the carburetor should be all right for intents and purposes. So I got my little squeezy bottle of fuel here. What we're going to do is we're going to fill the float bowls up a little bit. That way it's got something maybe to run on if it pops off. And I'm going to give her just a quick little douse of fuel. As Derek would say, it's way too much, but perfect. So guys, hopefully you can see this, but what we're going to go for is almost. Almost. Let's see here, come on. She's living, guys. She's living. So now, we got a bunch of other work to do, but she's alive. I mean, this thing starts and runs now. So, excitement right here. That was the first start. So, if you do everything right, you set your timing right, you get everything just so, this is what you expect. And it sounds good. That boat motor sounds rowdy, don't you think? But anyhow, guys, I'm gonna tinker along. I'm gonna see if I can't work up a fuel system and a cooling system for this thing real quick and see if we can get it to sit here and idle for longer than a minute. But stay tuned. I do have more. Alright guys, I wanted to give you a quick tip while I'm in the neighborhood of these things. So, upper radiator hose, that was pretty easy. Just straight, about 45, and then down to the thermostat housing. Now, on the other hand, we have the lower radiator hose, which is going to be a cut to fit kind of job here. So what we're doing is, I actually picked a long hose, which had the right inside diameter for the water pump and for the radiator. Now what I did was I chose a hose that has a bunch of 45 and 90 degree turns to it, which really makes this a lot easier because I was just able to lop out the section I didn't need. But don't throw this away, because if you're making a hose, it never hurts to have another 45 or 90 hanging around. But what we're doing here is we are from the water pump, and then we are going to come around to our radiator, and we're actually going to take a piece of 2-inch exhaust pipe, or I think it's 1 7/8. But we're going to be doing that right here, and we're going to clamp it down. Now if I had a bead roller, I would actually prefer to roll a bead on it, that way I know it's not going to go and pop apart. But sometimes when you're doing custom applications call for custom fits. So I just kind of wanted to give you a quick tech tip along the way while I'm doing this. But right now, we're starting to get the cooling system together, and I need to grab a couple more parts I've figured out. So I'm going to finish this video probably not tomorrow night, because I've got things to do that are also working on cars, but probably Saturday or Sunday. As you guys will see it as one video, but I'm going to do it as a couple different nights, but I'm just trying to get everything plumbed in. That way I can start filling the cooling system. I also have to figure out the alternator. I have to figure out a V-belt to run everything, which is nice because all I'm doing on this is running the alternator, water pump, and that's it. There's no other accessories on this motor that need to be ran. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys that. Give me a minute here. All right guys, so now we're actually going to put that hose together. By the way, it's a week later. I had a bunch of cars to work on, customer stuff, so I had to get that out of the way. I hope you guys caught my short with the exhaust manifold that had cast iron completely filling one of the holes for the manifold. So hopefully you guys caught that and enjoyed it. But yeah, we're back to making this hose fit here. So I got it pretty close to set up here, where I have our lower section ran up to the water pump, and I have our section coming off of the radiator. And now we are going to take a piece of 2-inch exhaust pipe. It's really nothing fancy, but in that nothing fancy we get, I'm obviously gonna have to use 2 hands for this, but you get half there, and then you'll actually clamp it there, and that will actually be your bridge. So that will get me a radiator hose that will at least work. But that's why you guys get ones that have the initial ins and outs that look like they'll match, and get some that have a bunch of turns on it, because you never know where you're going to cut it, and you're going to need to modify the hose to work when you're doing custom work. Now, if I had, all the proper stuff, I would just, instead of doing this, first, like I said, I'd bead roll it. That way it'd just be an extra measure of security for keeping the hoses from popping off. But I wanted to show you guys that little trick along the way. Now, I have been, as you can see, doing other stuff here, like we have the heater core ran now. I've been underneath it, kind of eyeballing the exhaust a little bit, trying to figure out where it needs to come out. Working on the alternator, and then I gotta bring the transmission lines up and through and into my radiator here, which really it won't be terrible. It's, when you're building a project, about 85% of it goes pretty quick because it's all big items you're doing. Then that, last 15%, it's all the small stuff and all the stuff you're running back and forth to the parts store 3 or 4 times a trip to try to figure out, because now you're in the minutia of the whole project. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this. And I've been doing it in real time. I could have just worked on several different projects at once and just filmed everything and then just Zeused it all together when I was ready to display it. But I want you guys to understand kind of all the stuff that goes into doing a project like this, because when you watch some of the shows, you really kind of lose the appreciation for that. It really does take real time. I mean, if this were my entire job and I had 8 to 10 hours a day to dedicate to it, well, yeah, it'd get done a lot faster. But only you guys actually can help me with that by liking and subscribing to what I'm doing here. So maybe eventually I can actually make this a career of being on front or in front of the camera, showing you guys what a doofus I am, but hopefully you're entertained. So please like and subscribe if you happen to see those. I'd very much appreciate it. But I'm going to get this tacked together, and then I'm going to bring you into the end result, and then we're going to start on our next project here. Alright guys, so this is what you should end up with if you've properly put your hoses together. You can see there's a trim line there, but if you've done everything right and it's in the position that it's going to be in, other than the fact you can kind of see where it swole out for the piece of pipe I put in there, it really should be very barely noticeable. But I'm going to get that in. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like, and then we're going to move on to the next step here, which I think I'm going to try to get the transmission lines ran for this thing, because I ordered a new yoke for it that's 1.25 inches longer, so I can still use the factory drive shaft. I had to find the GM 3R cap size though for the U-joints, which I find funny that GM puts such a big U-joint in such a small truck, but these days I'm thanking them for it. So stay tuned, hang around. We'll be right back. Alright guys, so there is our end result. I mean, not perfect. I would have loved to have found a hose that actually was built for this application, but all things considered, I think that this actually turned out pretty well. So now we're going to go on to cleaning and prepping more parts, and then I'll bring you back in when I start doing the transmission lines. But I think that might actually wait for an episode for next week, because I'm going to try to get a bunch done tonight, but I've got the yoke coming in for the transmission Wednesday, so I'm going to try to jump on it midweek and then start getting things ready for you guys for this coming weekend or next, depending on how things go. But this is Josh from Midnight Auto saying thank you for watching. Really appreciate the folks who are watching. I really wish there were a few more of you, because I enjoy commenting with you guys and talking to you and actually enjoying interacting. So please keep shooting me messages. I'll be happy to answer them, or at least tell you, hey, it was a good message. But This is Josh from Midnight Auto saying thank you so much and try to have a wonderful day.